So this is Phantom Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Poorniima Vamsi Gunturi, and we're going to talk about unlocking the body, mind, soul connection, the secret to holistic health. Welcome to the Phantom Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for inviting me over here. It's a pleasure to be on your platform.
Thank you. And we love to talk to people about the different uh, processes or services or ideas that they have. So this is a space for people to relay their vision. And we're going to talk, like I said, about unlocking the body, mind, soul connection and the secret to a holistic health. But before we get into that, we always ask every guest on the show a couple of things. What motivates you and why do you do what you do?
That's an interesting question. I think I strongly believe in can come from the space of when I have gone through something, it is more easy for me to relate to, resonate to, and then work on it, not just on myself, but with anybody else. So everything that I do as part of this body, mind, soul connection, unlocking it, it is something that I have gone through years ago in the form of different hormonal imbalances, postpartum depression, struggling with that weight at 180, 190 lbs, not knowing what to do and how is it that I can come off on that weighing scale with my BMI, etc. And when I found the way, my way, I thought it's what's more satisfying than sharing it with the world.
Yeah, a lot of times people have processes, but I think the problem people have is sometimes they're not sustainable. People will have like an idea or a 10-step program or they'll have like kind of a webinar and then like can you do that? Maybe you can do it for a week, maybe you can do it for a month, maybe you can do it for 6 months. But if it's something that you can actually see yourself doing every day for the rest of your life, it's probably more likely to work than something that is kind of flash in the pan. I think that a lot of times people go for the thing that's like the hyped, but it's actually not really for you, or it doesn't
Yes.
work with you.
Y- Yes, and I agree with that, and that is, I think, the core essence of what we offer. When I say we and I and my team, that if this is not inculcated in your DNA, like how you brush, how you have a shower every single day, it's not going to be sustainable. And that is the reason why we focus and work on that root cause of health issues and. I don't like to use the word fixing, but yes, if that is the word, then fixing it from the soul through the mind into the body. So that is why we see it as being sustainable. Even after 3 years, people have done programs with us. They come back to us and tell, "Oh, that I achieved this. My thyroid numbers went down 3 years ago, and it still is down. Or I released or dropped 15 kgs, and I'm still able to maintain it because I worked on my root cause." So very, very important to attend to the root cause of the health circumstances that we are currently in, Phantom.
So there's an interconnectedness between like the body, the mind, and the soul. And on this show, we've actually talked about that a lot. In terms of like, there's a lot of pillars to a human being, and those are primary ones. Um, but the issue sometimes people have is like they'll focus on one thing. They'll focus on the body, but then they don't focus on the mind and the soul or the heart or the spirit, right? So if you only focus on one thing, then you get out of balance, right? Is that the interconnectedness? Is you kind of need to know like your whole being, not just one part of your being.
Yes. Again, it is like, when you were saying that, I'm reminded of my younger son who is 7 years old, 8 years old now. And he thinks brushing his teeth is just brushing the front part of the teeth. And he forgets that a sides part or even the lower part, that which he needs to clean regularly to maintain that oral hygiene. Or when he sits on the dentist chair once in 6 months, for him to be told that, see, you have not brushed here, and hence probably chances of cavity. So that is what we are doing when we are not focusing on the three pillars that which you and I have been talking about, which is just working on the body or just probably working, just thinking that doing probably a meditation would help, and soul is totally untouched. So, and this is the sole reason why people stick or revolve around time and again different diets and different exercises, forgetting that there are things above and beyond that which we should be focusing on.
Yeah, and another thing that you point out, like, is hormones and, like, your
Yeah,
hormonal health and, trying to understand, like, what is the right balance or what's, like, out of balance or what's, like, do you actually even know, like, what your levels are? And so
yeah.
maybe you can talk about the vital role of hormones and how do you get at that? How do you determine where you should be?
Sure, 100%. Thank you for asking. So, I have this, I tell this to my women community. I work majorly with women on hormonal health and well being. And I tell this to my women community that you wake up in the morning, look at yourself in the mirror, and you think that there is something wrong with you. It is an opportunity to work. Your blood reports, your estrogen levels, your progesterone levels are at later point in time, years of imbalances that have happened in the body, that the blood report might actually speak a language that which we are not liking, and it's sometimes too late for us to start working on, even though there is an opportunity. But if we look at this basics of, oh, okay, I looked at myself first thing in the morning and I don't feel good, there's something that I have to do but I don't know what it is, that is an opportunity to identify what is blocking. So these days we have several hundreds and thousands of people across the social media who talk about, who educate, or who even share details about what is it that we should be looking in blood report, how, what should be the range that it should be in. But I think that's the last step before we make that choice to step into working on ourselves. There are probably 100 steps before that we can take, and that first step would be every morning when you wake up, look at yourself in the mirror and ask, am I feeling okay in all aspects of my life, physical, emotional, psychological? And if the answer is yes, excellent. I doubt it is for many of us, and that is an opportunity to start working on ourselves.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of times as a creative, I've always kind of drove or looked into this idea of the looking glass self, which is an idea that the Victorians had, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically self examination. And a
Yep.
lot of people don't like to look at the looking glass self. Like they don't like to actually dive into it because they rather kind of like paper over it or not deal with the realities of it.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you're actually diving into, I mean, a lot of that in terms
Yes.
of like really knowing how you feel and not trying to paper over it and say, well, I'll just push through it. I'll just suck
Yes.
it up because a lot of people like they don't listen to their body. They
Yep.
don't
Yep.
listen to what they're feeling. They like, oh, I'll just move beyond it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Again, I think it also comes from a space, especially with women, with the kind of responsibilities that women are loaded with naturally. And again, it comes as a probably as a mother, as a partner, as a wife, as a sister, as a friend, several roles that probably a woman plays, and she is destined to play the several roles. The tendency to put herself last is in her DNA. And
Mm.
that is why we probably think, oh, all right, this is just a small thing, I can ignore it. But every small step that is ignored at one point in time can become a bigger issue to handle. And hence, it is important that we start to at least ask ourselves, while this is a small issue, how long has it been happening? Have I taken any measures to work with it? Or have I just been ignoring it? If I have been, what is it that I can do to look deeper into it? So that self reflection is very important, according to me.
Yeah, and self care instead of focus on being a
Yeah.
people pleaser.
Yeah.
Because like if you're the caretaker people pleaser, you don't put everybody in the family, everybody in the organization ahead of yourself, and
Yeah.
then you hit the wall. Right,
Yeah.
and then if you have that people pleaser, like, there could be some resentments built up, and then nobody knows why, because you've always been that person, so they thought you were doing it because that's what you were doing, but, like, eventually you might get fed up.
Absolutely. And you used a beautiful word called as people pleaser. And this people pleaser, from the language of energetics that I speak and the certification I hold, it comes from the space of having an abandoned childhood. Probably a child that is more abandoned with its thoughts, with its emotions, that which is not able to express itself or believes that it is not being liked. He or she have the tendency to become that people pleaser. I was one at one point in time, not that I was abandoned, but I always held my emotions within me. I did not know how to express. And all that I thought I could do was, oh, if I go above and beyond and do things, I will be liked. And
Mm.
the more I did that, the more I saw I was being taken undue advantage of. And that's a fact. We need to accept it. And yeah, it was impacting my health too. So it's a beautiful point that you brought up, Phantom, about, the people pleaser and how it goes to our childhood days, which is where it is sown as a seed of, oh, your emotions don't matter, your feelings don't matter. All that matters is you do, and if I like it, well and good. And that's how, as we grow, we become into that people pleaser.
And also that we have to deal with the idea of like safety and fear. And a lot of people will do things to remain safe, stay away from fear, keep the wolf at the door. And a lot of times we have these virtual wolves
Yep.
at the door compared to like old human time is you actually had a real wolf or a saber
Yep.
tooth or some animal at you nipping at you, and you had to kind of stay in the tribe to stay
Yep.
away from that.
Yep.
And sometimes you'll actually put down your individuality to have the
Yep.
protection of that group. And then
Yep.
today we tend to do this in all different types of ways without the physical wolf at the
Yep.
door, but it's like a trigger is the
Yep.
wolf,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely. Totally agree with you, Phantom. Again, I think social media in its own way plays a huge role in how we are today, the way we are, as much as we have. The boon and the pain, you and I are connected because of that. Otherwise, probably I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am. But today we are on one platform, on your platform, speaking about unlocking body, mind, and soul for holistic health because of social media. Now it depends on how we take advantage of it, and I think that has played a huge role in creating those virtual walls or those barriers for people to be able to connect, communicate, and stay close with their close knit community or family friends as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important piece of kind of situational awareness to be aware of
Yeah.
like inner and the outer. As
Yeah.
at being an artist, a lot of what we deal with is it be able to pull like our subconscious
Mm-hmm.
like creativity with our external outputs and then try to figure out how to synthesize it together to make some
Mm.
coherent artistic statement. But I think a lot of people in everyday life, you're doing that. You're finding
Yeah.
a way to tell the story. I mean, you might not think you're an artist, but every day you're very creative in terms of how you present yourself, how you
Yeah.
tell your story, and
Yeah.
how you fit into those things. But then we have all these stressors.
Yeah.
We have all this stress in life, and we don't know how to kind of shake it off like an animal, like a deer that was like being chased and it went, breaks away. It kind of shakes off
Yeah.
that fear, and that we seem to like lost our mechanisms for stress relief.
Yep, agree again. So, as you are saying this, the one word again that comes is social conditioning, that which we have from childhood again, of the environment we are raised and what it is that we go through in our surroundings. So, that also plays a huge role in the way today, probably I present myself. Now, I have put myself in situations and circumstances where I have grown a lot, learned from who I was to who I am today. But if we look at average of five people, I think at minimum to minimum three or four of them would perform the same way that either their mom did, dad did, sisters are doing, or their friends in and around that they were raised as child are doing. And that's why probably we also say our salaries are an average of five people whom we connect and work or have close associations with. So our behaviors are also a replica of who we are and what environment that we put ourselves into. So totally and 100% agree with what you said.
Hmm. So another thing in terms of like sleep, deprivation,
Yeah.
and and people may be thinking like, well, I've got to work 12
Mm-hmm.
hours, 14-hour shift, stay with it to be effective with it. It's like if you don't give yourself time to recover, right, then eventually it adds up and it's like you really it's stressing yourself with the sleep deprivation and not having a way to get that rest that's necessary. It's not a badge of honor to say, well, I got 2 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep. It's like, right. It's you're not doing yourself a favor.
I was very proud, and I'm smiling big because I was very proud of myself in my late 20s, even early 30s, that, oh, I can run through the day with 4 hours of sleep. And I used to openly admit that until I realized how much of a harm it was doing to me than any good. So we also forget to understand that most of the fat that which needs to burn happens in sleep. So, the circadian rhythm, the sun moon cycle, is something that is very important. And when I say that, I deeply honor and respect all those who are on shift jobs, probably doctors, especially who don't have much control over how they can work or
Mhm.
what they can do. But that does not mean that through the hours that they get to rest, they do not make the best use of it, right? Yeah, as much as, yeah, sleeping through night is how we as human beings are designed, as animals are designed. But if people are working through nights for whatever reasons that they are doing, then in such a case, there has to be a way that they identify to get that rest for them, for their body to perform. And hence the reason why even exercise is important, even more important for such people, wherein that actually kind of creates that rhythm in their body to be able to activate their metabolism and do everything that is needed for the body to be able to melt that fat, which we think will melt probably spending hours in gym. No, if someone gets a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep, they probably are doing more service and justice to their health than someone who thinks like me, or how I used to think that 4 hours is good for me to run through the day. It definitely is a big no.
Yeah, I think a lot of times it's a badge of honor for a lot
Yeah,
of people to talk about like how many hours they sat in their cubicle.
yeah,
Like I work in IT and the software, developers, we can run into this trap. It's like, think it's a badge for me to sit like 4 hours straight coding and saying, well, that means I'm a good employee. It's like no, because like there's like a point where there's the diminishing returns.
yeah,
It's like a lot of times, even as a musician, it's like I could sit at my piano for 4 hours straight. But a lot of times it's like if I walk away from it, if I take
yeah,
a break, if I go walk in the woods, if
yeah,
I get on my bicycle, if I go take my dog for a walk and then come back to it, I actually will probably be more productive and actually do a better job than just sitting there struggling and just being in it. With like you don't get, I think, the perspective of sometimes you need to actually get outside of it and just
yeah.
being into this one activity, you get tunnel vision.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I have this rule of finishing this bottle. So I call it as a 20-minute rule, Phantom. So every 20 minutes, even if we go to our ophthalmologist, they suggest that every 20 minutes look somewhere and then come back to give that eyes a break. But it is sometimes that we take pride in what we do and then we think, oh, let me sit and finish and then do. And that takes hours without we realizing, and that goes on for days, not just one day, but goes on for days and months together in that way, which obviously has an impact on the health. So the best way probably for me, that which has helped, like you have suggested, is just go and fill a bottle. Keep an alarm. If there is a reminder that you need, keep an alarm on your phone, and then in 20 minutes just to sip some water, look out of the window, gaze through probably birds or anything that's moving over there, and just walk, go to the bathroom, do something that will allow at least a couple of minutes break for. And if we notice, that brings in a lot more agility, and it also the way we think, the clarity, the focus, that which we thought, oh, this is just not working, to, oh, I now got an idea of how to make this work, and things get even more quickly done than what we had anticipated.
Yeah, and sometimes in our business, sometimes I have my Bluetooth headset and I'm actually in the meeting taking a walk around my neighborhood
Yep,
or taking a walk in the woods. And I'm still in the meeting. I'm
yep,
still engaged, but I give myself like a health break, like not the coffee break or the old smoke break. it's kind of like this mental health break. Like to me,
Yeah.
it's like I'm out in the woods, and I feel like it's very restorative. I mean, I live in New Hampshire, and we
Mm-hmm.
have these beautiful pine woods and like forest and all these
Wow.
animals and stuff. And it's just to me, just walking in the woods, just clear. If it's something was stressful, I was in a meeting, I guess high stress, and it's like somebody was like causing issues or there's all kinds of problems. That like, being able to do that is better than drinking that cappuccino. It's better
Yes.
than drinking that coffee. It's better than eating that donut or something. It's like, no, that's not really helping.
Yeah, yeah. Nature is the best healer. There's no doubt nature is the best healer. So as you were saying that I was able to visualize you literally walking in the pine woods. Oh, that's so good. And that's form of an exercise as well. You're giving not just your physical body, but for your the way of thinking, your brain to act, etc. So that's so good to hear that you do that. And yeah, I wish many of us more implemented that even more.
And then people that have like what you call energetic blocks or knots,
Mm-hmm.
how do you like deal with those and maybe explain what they are?
Sure. So I come from this space of each of us are energetic bodies. As much as we might have our own shape and form, we are all energetic beings. And you absorb my energy, I absorb your energy. And so do all our viewers who are watching us live are absorbing our energy at this point in time. So, what energetic knots and blocks potentially mean is the chakras that we have. We have a total of 106 chakras, of which one, two, three, four, five, six chakras. Six chakras are fully active from the crown to the root. So those chakras now, with everything that we do on a day-to-day basis and the stress, trauma, triggers that we carry, the chances are there are blockages in those chakras. It can be root chakra, it can be the womb for women mostly again, with the kind of emotions we carry, with we not being able to voice our thoughts out, the womb area or the womb chakra, the sacral chakra is blocked. And that is
Mm.
why most of the women, keeping these signs apart from how the estrogen, progesterone rise and decline can create more fat around there, women tend to have period cycle issues when their womb chakra is not fully active. Now, likewise, thyroid gland, like I have been a person who has always held my emotions back. I said that. So for me, when I got diagnosed with thyroid in 2015, it took me 5 years to understand that the reason behind was more of how much I was holding behind of my thoughts, of not wanting to share because I always thought, what would people think? So that way, when I started to open up myself to be able to speak, explore, in 21 days, I was able to reverse my thyroid issues that I was going through. So it is about identifying the energetic knots and blocks in the chakras that which we have, and then working on reactivating it, cleansing it, shielding it, and then as we work on it, living from that space of grounding ourselves and then knowing that these chakras are now activated and are supporting us for our overall well-being, and that is health.
It seems like that's a permission structure, the chakra, like you're talking about the womb energy.
Yep.
But it's like it's a permission structure to be present and be yourself and not be scared of there's a lot of vulnerability.
Yeah, it
It
is.
makes you not want to raise your hand. Like when you're in school, the kids
Yeah.
that don't want to raise their hand because they're scared
Yeah.
that they're
Yeah.
not the A student and they're not gonna no one's gonna like the answer or they're gonna laugh at your answer.
Yeah.
Or so they it's this idea like it gets that back to like, you're limiting belief and you don't trust yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not good enough is something I think it resonates with many of them and many of us in some aspect or other. Right. So even for me to do this podcast, Phantom, at this point in time, and the way we are interacting, it's more of an interactive session. And probably behind my mind, my inner child is asking, are you actually answering everything to the point? Do you think what you're saying is correct? Would it be liked by people? And having to shush her saying, I'm doing my best. Let me do. Right. So this is me currently after years of experience. But for people who do not have that awareness, who do not have that years of experience, they are going to hold themselves back and then say, I am not good enough.
But it seems like there's a perfection trap, and I've dealt with a lot of artists where they don't feel they can actually present unless it's perfect. And then everybody's idea of what perfect is a different thing. So it is really hard to define what
Absolutely.
perfection is. But the
Yeah.
tendency is to not present, like to keep it inside. Like if you're a musician, you just practice your skills all day, but you never go on stage. If you're a
Yes.
writer, you've got all these manuscripts, but you never even send them to the publisher. Right.
Yes.
So you just have all this stuff, but you never really present because you're too scared of it. You
Yes.
haven't given yourself the permission structure that, like, yeah, not everybody's gonna like what you do, right? There's an audience, but not every there's an audience for everything. It depends on like where you put it, like the immediate reaction. But
Yeah.
that might not be the right audience. It's the wrong, place to send it. Like a lot of times, it's like if you the way the world is with the net, your audience could be in Norway. It could be
Yeah.
in the Netherlands, it could be in Egypt, it could be anywhere, right? They have
Yeah.
no idea, but it might not be your hometown.
Yeah.
So just because
Yes.
your hometown doesn't dig it doesn't mean it shouldn't be out there. And that's the problem.
Absolutely.
People's proximity is like, "Oh, well, they don't like it, so no one else is gonna like it." Well, I
Yep.
don't
100.
even like it myself.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And when we talk about perfectionism first, is there something called as perfection? Is something I would question to anyone who is watching us. I think that only exists in dictionary. That it's good to be in dictionary, but not in real life, because we always have a scope to improve. Today in this podcast, I am sharing my awareness, that which I have now. 2 years down the line, when I look at this podcast, I would be smiling at myself that, oh, that Poorniima had that awareness then, but she's having something else now. Likewise, with my book Phantom that I have written, Hormone Reset, when I read it today, there are certain things definitely I can improve now. But then that was my awareness, and that is what I could do as best. And the other part for many of us is the fear of rejection, the fear of rejection of what if they don't like and I get rejected. We are not probably our DNA is not embedded with this fear of rejection from childhood, so that we always want to be liked, we always want to win, we always want to be at the top in whatever we do, from running race in the school to excelling at workplace. So, and we have also been gifted time and again for being first in running race or being a top achiever in office or workplace. Now when that doesn't happen, internally there is this fear of what if it is not liked, what if I come last, what if. So that what ifs, the moment I think we're able to cross that what if and say it is okay, I am doing what I'm aware of and what I'm best at this instance, and there is an opportunity to learn and grow, the topic ends there.
Yeah, it's like in my software jobs, we have this thing where we're like it's basically we have this idea of iterative development or agile. So
Mm-hmm.
agile means I don't know whatever I don't know today, I can fix tomorrow.
Yep.
So you see this on your cell phone, right? Your cell phone, the apps continually updating because
Yep.
the programmers didn't know what they yesterday, they found something out, and now tonight they put out what they didn't know, they fixed it. And
Yep.
tomorrow there might be another thing they didn't know and they fix it. So it's like
Yep.
it's this moving target. It keeps on improving. It's like your life. Like you are going to get better, right?
Yes.
You put your 10,000 hours in, you're gonna get
Yes.
better. Like you're gonna learn, even if you didn't anticipate, like an athlete. They
Yes.
have all these plays they practice and they get on a on the field and there's somebody does something they didn't prepare for.
Mm,
But
mm.
if they're living in the present moment, they're able to kind of say, okay, I haven't seen that, but something like that, and they can respond, even though it's not exactly perfect. They don't sit there and say, well, I don't know what to do. I'm just throw my hands up. I'm just lose the whole thing. It's like
Yeah.
the good athlete actually can do something, can deal with that, roll with the punch,
Yep.
and actually get to the next level. And I think
Yep.
everybody has that point, or they hit the crash point where they say, well, I don't know what to do, and they just
Yeah.
drop the ball.
Yep, absolutely. And I think most of the time we live our life like a waterfall. Agile is something you spoke. Waterfall is the other methodology that we use in the software side of, okay, one step is done and then next step, which means if that step is successful, that is when I'll go into this step. So we live our life in that way is also something I have seen with many of us, that if that one fails, we are stuck there. Or I need to fix that to move. And I think that's why the agile came in, because it was not working in the coding, in the testing, in the developing
Yeah,
field,
it take
right?
too
But in
long.
real life, that is
Yeah,
what we do.
yeah,
I get started with one business. If that business doesn't work, I will stick to it and see why it is not working, or I will leave it over there. Versus what are the other avenues that are opening for us? What else can we do? Okay, if this is not working, what are the other ways that I can make things work is something that many of us don't think, Phantom. So yeah, that's a beautiful way of comparing agile and waterfall methodologies for people who understand that language.
yeah. And this is chakra activation, which we've kind of been alluding to. Um, so we maybe can talk more depth to that because I know we're getting close to like the end of our discussion. But in terms of like we talked about it from like the womb energy,
Yeah.
but talk about different types of chakra activation because different type of chakras, right?
Yes, different type of chakras. So, like I said, the crown chakra is where it is here. The third eye chakra, if you see, I'm wearing, this is called bindi in Indian tradition. So this one we usually wear. Traditionally, we wear red ones, but evolved to wear in different colors now. But that signifies and it protects the third eye chakra in between the eyebrows. And then we have the throat chakra. We have the heart chakra. And then we have the solar plexus chakra, which is just below the chest, and the womb, which is near in and around the womb space, abdominal space, and then the root chakra. So those are the different chakras, and each of these chakras have high significance. Again, I'm blessed to come from a culture where we have a lot of learnings and awareness and different chantings that which we use to activate those chakras as well. So that is something I follow. Tomorrow, I'm on 13th. So tomorrow, which is 14th, it's very special because it is full moon, and it is also Holi in India, festival of colors. So
Mm.
full moon brings in a lot of astronomical alignments with planets, and how the tides in the oceans rise up because of moon being very closer to earth. So is women's emotions as well. Our body, when I say women, I am biased towards women, I'm sorry, but
That's
yeah, I
fine.
think we have more of those emotional up levels, and that happens if we closely observe. If we can observe that it is more towards that full moon and new moon too. So going back to the chakras again, the more we create our awareness around activating those chakras, what are the different mantras we can use? Very simple mantras of lam, vam for each of those chakras, which I'm happy to share after we are done recording. So that helps in activating it and grounding our energy with Mother Earth. The more we learn to ground our energy with nature, with that beautiful walk and talk exercise that you told me about in the pine woods when you're taking those meetings, the better it is for us to work on our aura. And our aura is more of those chakras and how it protects or shields us.
That's interesting because there's a lot of like interconnectedness with like the world and the universe and nature, which I'm part Cherokee and Blackfoot Native American, and there's a lot of belief in that, that interconnectedness with the world, with nature, with animals, with spirits, like with the wind, with the sun, the
Yeah,
earth itself.
yeah,
So when you have those mindset like that, then you can tend to be less isolated
yeah,
in your view of the world. Like if you feel
yes,
you're part of the universe and you're
yes,
connected with the animals, you're not like potentially over the animals are equal spirits, right? Then the water is an equal spirit, the wind, the
yeah,
fire, everything, right? And so you have a different point of view
yeah,
and might be more willing to entertain
yeah,
expansiveness rather
yeah.
than narrowness.
Yes, yes. And we will also probably stop saying, but this is happening only to me. Why me? The questions that we keep asking otherwise, the moment we realize that we are just we are one in the entire universal alignment that which we have, and we are neither higher nor lower, but a being. Several things shift for each one of us, Phantom.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I think we've have your URL below. So if people click that, is
Yeah.
that how they connect with you, and is that how they get uh, in contact with you to talk to you or set appointments with you?
Yes, that's one. And I'm more active. I and my team are more active on my Insta handle as well. My Insta handle goes by my name again, Poorniima, which is given here Poornima, and then Hormone Coach, HORMONE COACH. So that's my Insta handle where I have a family of 163K followers. And we are very actively supporting people with what they require. It's not about what I want to give, it is about what they want, and then we
Mhm.
provide or support with that particular aspect. So happy for people to follow me on Insta and or through the website that has been shared over here, Phantom.
Yeah, well, let people know that the URL is fully clickable, and we'll also post some clips. We use some AI technology to create stories on
Sure.
Instagram, and since you're on Instagram, we'll collaborate with you on a
Yes.
story and use a landing page link, and then people can check this out on any
Yeah.
platform they want to. Right now,
Yeah.
we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, but
Mm-hmm.
we will be on like Apple Podcast, Spotify Video Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon, many,
Yeah.
many channels by tomorrow. And I want
Perfect.
to thank you for being on the show tonight and giving us this perspective that I think is very, that's why we love to talk to people to give different perspectives on how to solve life's issues and come up with practices that maybe people weren't aware of. And so that's why we use this show to kind of be a teaching moment. And I thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Phantom. Truly appreciate for being here, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you.